What would you sacrifice to follow your soul's calling? A stable job, a loving family, or even your place in society? The Moon and Sixpence, the timeless masterpiece by W. Somerset Maugham, dares to ask this haunting question. Inspired by the life of the post-impressionist painter Paul Gauguin, the novel tells the story of Charles Strickland, a seemingly ordinary man who shocks everyone by abandoning his privileged life in London to chase an irrational and obsessive dream. To become an artist. But this isn't just a tale of art. It's a piercing exploration of human desires, the price of freedom, and the hidden cost of genius. In this article, we'll unravel the layers of Strickland's transformation, from a dull stockbroker to a misunderstood visionary, and reflect on what his journey means for those of us caught between the moon of our ideals and the sixpence of daily survival. Get ready to question everything you thought you knew about success, purpose, and what it truly means to. When stability becomes an invisible prison, Charles Strickland, a name that seems utterly unremarkable, becomes the center of a story that haunts readers with a piercing question. What makes a life truly worth living? From the very first pages, W. Somerset Maugham paints a picture of a man living what many would call the English dream. A respectable career as a stockbroker, a peaceful home, 2 well-behaved children, and a devoted wife. Yet to Strickland, all of this is nothing more than a form of mere existence, not a life truly lived. When Strickland abruptly leaves his family without a word, he carries no money, no plan, only a mysterious inner calling, the urge to paint. His decision shocks and enrages everyone around him. To them, it's betrayal, madness, but to Strickland, it's liberation. Like Strickland, we may be living in golden cages, with financial security, social approval, and stability, but suffocating within, with no room for the soul to breathe. The home, the office desk, the family dinners, the polite handshakes. These might symbolize peace, but they can also represent surrender, a quiet death of the self. In Paris, Strickland finds nothing but poverty and isolation. No fame, no training, no steady income. Just a middle-aged man barely surviving, pouring all his lifeblood into paint and canvas. This is not a path of logic. It is a path of deep, burning instinct. Like Strickland, we may be living in golden cages with financial security, social approval, and stability, but suffocating within with no room for the soul to breathe. The home, the office desk, the family dinners, the polite handshakes, these might symbolize peace, but they can also represent surrender, a quiet death of the self. In Paris, Strickland finds nothing but poverty and isolation. No fame, no training, no steady income. Just a middle-aged man barely surviving, pouring all his lifeblood into paint and canvas. This is not a path of logic. It is a path of deep, burning instinct. The price of genius and the solitude of the soul. Strickland's journey at its core is not a tale of rebellion. It is a tale of transcendence through solitude. In a world driven by comfort and conformity, he dares to live a life stripped of all distractions, all comforts, all illusions. What remains is raw purpose, a singular devotion to creating something truly his own. As Strickland delves deeper into painting, he sinks further into poverty and alienation. He becomes socially unbearable, rude, indifferent, and often cruel. He shows no interest in companionship or recognition. He does not explain himself. To him, art does not require justification. It demands sacrifice. This unwavering commitment horrifies those around him. When he's offered help, he accepts only what is necessary for survival. When people extend emotional connection, he recoils, as if the motion itself could dilute the purity of his pursuit. And perhaps they are right to recoil, because in his eyes, relationships are distractions, fragile threads that tether him back to the mundane world he's tried so hard to escape. And yet, Maugham doesn't portray Strickland as a hero. He is not glorified. In fact, much of his behavior is repulsive. He destroys lives, emotionally devastates his wife, betrays friends, seduces and abandons women. His talent is undeniable, but his humanity is elusive. So what is Maugham trying to say? That genius demands cruelty? That creation necessitates destruction? Perhaps. Or perhaps he's suggesting that true art, pure, uncompromising art, cannot coexist with a conventional life. That the deeper one dives into the self, the further they must drift from the world. Strickland is a mirror of a terrifying possibility. That greatness may come at the cost of empathy. That to create something eternal, one might have to become a stranger to all things temporal, family, society, even morality. But here lies the paradox. As readers, we are repelled by Strickland's coldness, yet we are drawn to his freedom. His art, when finally revealed, is not merely beautiful, it is transcendent. It speaks of something eternal, untamed, true. And in that moment, we understand all that suffering, all that madness, it created something that words alone never could. Strickland dies poor, alone, unrecognized, but his paintings survive him, not as products of talent, but as relics of a man who gave everything to see the world through his own eyes. Maugham's message is not to encourage us to abandon our families or burn down our lives. It is simpler and deeper. Know what you are willing to sacrifice for the truth you believe in. Because in the end, the world may applaud your success, but only you will live with the cost of your choices. Perception, purpose, and the quiet tragedy of difference. If Strickland represents the unrelenting pursuit of a singular passion, then his wife and others he leaves behind represent the silent majority, those who value security, stability, and societal acceptance. Their lives are not lesser, only different. But the difference in perception is where the true tragedy lies. To his wife, Strickland is not a misunderstood genius. He is a deserter, a selfish man who abandoned his responsibilities, shattered a family, and brought shame and chaos. And in many ways, she is right. Her pain is real. Her struggle to rebuild life alone, raise children, and salvage dignity after public disgrace is no less courageous than Strickland's artistic journey. But unlike him, she chose to fight within the boundaries of society, not outside of it. What Maugham highlights here is not whose path is superior, but how perception shapes meaning. To one person, life is a canvas, bold, messy, magnificent. To another, Life is a structure, orderly, respected, and earned. Neither is wrong, but they are often incompatible. This difference in value systems creates conflict, not only between individuals, but within ourselves. How many of us long to chase the moon, a dream, a purpose, a calling, yet keep our eyes on the sixpence? The paycheck, the mortgage, the approval of others. We live torn between what we want to do and yet we feel we must do, between the truth of the soul and the demands of the world. And perhaps that is the true essence of the Moon and Sixpence. It is not a call to abandon all and become an artist. It is a challenge to ask, what truly matters to you? What are you willing to give up to live authentically? Some find joy in art, others in family, some in solitude, others in community. What Maugham offers is not an answer, but a mirror, one that reflects our hidden desires and suppressed dreams. Through Strickland's harsh and lonely journey, we confront the parts of ourselves we often ignore. In the end, Strickland dies alone, his masterpiece left on the walls of a modest hut in Tahiti. No final words, no dramatic revelation, just colors on canvas, strange, powerful, eternal. And we, like the narrator, are left haunted, not by what Strickland did, but by the question his life leaves behind. If you had the courage to choose only one thing, to live one truth, what would it be? Will you choose the moon or the sixpence? In a world full of expectations and social norms, The Moon and Sixpence is not merely the tale of an eccentric artist. It is a powerful reminder that your perception determines how you live, love, and choose your destiny. Some may always see Strickland as selfish, cold, and irresponsible, a man who abandoned his wife, children, wealth, and reputation to chase a vague notion called art. Yet others might view him as a living symbol of spiritual freedom, a man who dared to live authentically, even if it meant giving up everything. The truth is, there is no absolute right or wrong choice. Strickland's story doesn't urge you to abandon your current life to become an artist, nor does it glorify isolation. Maugham, through this character, doesn't preach. He tells a story. He invites you to reflect, and then he lets you decide. If you choose the moon, ideals, passion, and what sets your soul on fire, you must accept a path of solitude, hardship, and being misunderstood. If you choose the sixpence, stability, safety, and social approval, you may live a respectable life, but perhaps at the cost of silencing your true self. The real question is, do you know what truly brings you happiness? Are you living according to your own desires, or merely to meet the expectations of others? Are you gazing up at the moon, or bending down to pick up the coin? Strickland died in poverty and solitude, yet he left behind a body of art so raw and powerful that it overwhelmed those who saw it. His wife, once shattered by his betrayal, rose to live a proud and successful life in her own right. Two people, two paths, two perceptions, and both lived fully. Maugham didn't write this novel just to tell the story of a rebellious painter. He wrote it to whisper a truth. Life is too short to live by someone else's definition. If you don't define your own life, the world will do it for you. And worse than failure is reaching the end and realizing you never truly lived as yourself. So don't be too quick to judge Strickland. Don't blame his wife or the supporting characters either. They were simply living by their own truths. The question is, will you dare to live by yours? There are many sixpences scattered across the world, but the moon? There's only one, distant, elusive, yet always there, waiting for you to look up. The legacy of living authentically. One of the most striking elements in the Moon and Sixpence is the theme of living authentically. Through the story of Strickland, Maugham challenges the reader to reflect on the choices they make and how much they are influenced by the expectations of society, family, and even their own self-doubt. Strickland's journey is both a warning and an inspiration. His decision to abandon everything for the sake of his art is extreme. But it forces us to ask ourselves a critical question. How far are we willing to go to pursue what truly makes us feel alive? In Strickland's case, the path he chose was not only lonely and difficult, but also deeply uncertain. He left behind a comfortable life with a loving wife and children, and in return, he received little more than the satisfaction of his own artistic expression. His life is a stark contrast to the mundane existence most people settle into, an existence that focuses on fulfilling societal duties, accumulating wealth, and securing stability. Strickland chose to prioritize his inner calling over external validation, a decision that ultimately led to both his suffering and his greatness. But Strickland is not the only character who undergoes a transformation in the novel. His wife, who initially feels betrayed and devastated by his abandonment, eventually finds strength in herself. She rises from her despair, reinventing herself and becoming independent. In her own way, she embodies the theme of self-realization, though her path is different from Strickland's. This dynamic between Strickland and his wife highlights the idea that authenticity doesn't necessarily mean following the same path as someone else. It's about understanding what your heart truly desires and having the courage to follow that desire, even if it's not the most conventional or comfortable choice. Some people may find authenticity in art, like Strickland, while others may find it in a more stable, family-oriented life, like his wife. What Maugham illustrates through these characters is the importance of choice. No one else can decide what your life should be. It is not about what others expect from you or what society dictates as success. It's about tuning into your own voice, your own sense of purpose, and making choices that align with that inner truth. The legacy of Strickland's life, then, is not found in the conventional sense of success. He does not achieve fame or wealth in his lifetime. His art remains largely unrecognized by the public. Yet, his story serves as a reminder that true fulfillment comes not from external rewards, but from following one's true calling, no matter the cost. For some, the cost of authenticity may be the sacrifices of relationships, comfort, and security. For others, the cost may be the risk of failure and loneliness. But the key point that Maugham emphasizes is that it is only by living authentically that we can truly understand who we are and what we are capable of. Strickland's art, though born out of personal obsession, becomes a testament to his inner truth, and in the end, it is that truth that makes him unforgettable. In the grand scheme of things, the Moon and Sixpence reminds us that we cannot measure the worth of a life simply by its outward success. Sometimes, the most profound legacies are found in the most unexpected places. the quiet corners of the soul, the intimate, unshared passions that define a person's true essence. As you close the book, ask yourself, what is my moon? What am I willing to chase, regardless of how difficult it might be? And remember, the moon is always out there, waiting to be reached by those brave enough to look beyond the sixpence. Conclusion. The Moon and Sixpence is a powerful narrative that challenges us to think about the choices we make in life. It asks us to reflect on what truly matters, whether we are chasing the moon, our highest ideals and dreams, or focusing on the sixpence, the practical and mundane aspects of life. The journey of Strickland reminds us that authenticity, no matter the cost, is the key to true fulfillment. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this deep dive into Maugham's masterpiece has sparked some thoughts and reflections for you. What do you think? Are you chasing your own moon, or are you focusing on the sixpence? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts and start a conversation. Don't forget to like this video if you found it insightful, and subscribe to the channel for more thought-provoking content. I'll be posting more videos on fascinating books, life lessons, and ways to live authentically. Stay tuned for more exciting discussions. Remember, the journey to understanding yourself starts with the choices you make. So go out there and start chasing your moon. See you in the next video.